Hey friends, this is Eric the Mind Control Guy. Yesterday I made a video and I showed some scenes that I've talked about in previous videos about the infamous MIB, also known as Men in Black. Anyway, in 1997, there was a series started with the original one of Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith called The Men in Black. They made one, they made two, they made three. Those movies were fine. And then there was a fourth one made. I only watched part of it and I couldn't watch anymore. But anyway, I'm going to try and record that footage better. Now, I don't have the computer skills that a lot of people have where they can just show all kinds of videos up here, just work the magic on the fingers and do all that. I don't have those skills. I never learned them. I don't even know how to do it. So I just do the old school way, pick up the camera, videotape the TV screen. The problem was yesterday, sun was going down. We had a lot of light coming the in the house here, and I got a lot of reflection. And being that it was only square, I turned the camera sideways, and people kind of look at it upside down, sideways, and all that. So I'm going to try to redo that. But anyway, I was telling some stories on there. One of them that I mentioned, didn't think anything about it. It's just one of many stories I can tell about things that I either knew about or experienced or things like that over the years. And one of my subscribers, a lady named Amy, she mentioned one of the stories that I had talked about briefly. And she wanted me to elaborate. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Amy, darling, I'm going to do this one for you. This is for you. Now, what I'm going to do is I have the movie, or parts of the movie, I should say, on TV screen of Men in Black. And so before I reenact the scene to where I met an individual, encountered an individual, the individual used to work at our Canadian connection. Now, I used to work for a casket place. Some people call them coffins, where they put dead cadavers. We used to call them underground lawn furniture. But yes, for 3 years I hauled coffins. That's what I did. From late 2002 to early 2006. And for the 3 years I was there, every now and then we used to go up to Canada. And our sister company was in Victoriaville, Quebec. Now, Quebec is a French speaking, I'm not sure what they call them up there, Providence or whatever, but they got the country of Canada, and then they got the separate little provinces, nations, whatever term they use, I'm not sure, They got Ontario, they got Quebec, they got Saskatchewan, Alberta, and whatnot. But Quebec, they speak French up there. And so in Victoriaville, our other sister company up there, they had their factory where they built coffins, and they built wood coffins. And sometimes you start talking about coffins, people think, oh, that's creepy, whatever. Well, after you've been around for a little while, it's just another box. And some of the work, the craftsmanship that went into these boxes was really fascinating. I mean, because they worked strictly with wood up there. Down where I used to work down in Aurora, Indiana, they built a lot of the metal boxes. But up in Canada, they built wood boxes. And the craftsmanship was gorgeous. I mean, everything from, mahogany, just all kinds of different wood. And like I said, the craftsmanship that went into it was pretty awesome. Well, in the office In the 3 years I went there, they had 2 or 3 people that worked in the office. And this one lady up there is the one that we interacted with, and she spoke both French and English. It's just like you go to the Southwest, you got people that, they're bilingual. The first thing people think of is Spanish and English. Well, up there, it's French and English. And so this lady, she's the one we interacted with. The individual that I'm talking about, that I use the term, he wore an Edgar suit. This individual worked in the office, and you see him, I guess he spoke only French. I'm not sure if he spoke English at all. But the guy wasn't very tall. He might have been, I don't know, 5'7", 5'8". He wasn't very tall. Just your regular looking guy. Except with this guy, he didn't look like everyday people. There was just something I just never could put my foot on it. Or put my finger on it. I misspeak, I'm sorry. But anyway, this individual, I just couldn't put my finger on. Something looked different about him. His forearm. Now you see my forearm here, regular old forearm. This guy's forearm looked kind of bent, looked kind of curved like that. And I'm thinking, man, isn't there some kind of insects that have bent arms like that? It seems strange. His eyes weren't like these eyes, weren't like your eyes. They were more like round eyes you'd see in some of these movies about some of these shapeshifters and whatnot. He just didn't really seem to have human type eyes, but I mean, could be genetics. All right. He opened his mouth one day like he was laughing, like, and I saw his tongue, and his tongue was as black as my shirt. Human beings, we don't have black tongues. We have pink tongues. But this guy had a black tongue. I'm like, wow, that's weird. And then I saw the side of his face on both sides. And if you've ever seen like somebody have a weld, how it looks like it's fused together, for any folks that might be welders out there. And sometimes when somebody has a scar on them, a really bad scar, looks like, the skin has been re-stitched together. Right here on the side, it looked like his face was fused together. I mean, it looked like they took a face and put it on there like that. And it looked bizarre. I couldn't put my finger on it. Well, a guy I met a number of years ago, I lost contact with him since then. I don't have any contact with him, lost contact. And like me, he was a mind control survivor. He was an MK Ultra survivor, actually. I'm a survivor of one that came after MK Ultra called the Mind Altering Research Study, which most people have never heard of. And anyway, I got to talking to him one time, and he told me about a word, and I will not say that word here, but he said it's a word, and it's been verified to me. I used to work with another guy who was prior military intelligence, and I was starting to talk to him about it, and he told me the word before I did. It's a word that, is not, people like, it doesn't get out. It's not supposed to get out to the average schmo out here. But anyway, this particular word, what it's supposed to do is if you encounter a off-worlder, aggressive being, you can say this word and they say it repels them. Well, I figured out something else, that this particular word can also repel negative energy. Now, I took this word, I got these glitter stickers one time you could buy at truck stops and whatnot. And I took the word and I took the stickers and I slapped it on the back of my pickup truck. And most people don't even know what that is and don't even ask me. They don't even pay attention. Folks don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff. Anyway, the stickers came on this. There was these square pieces of cardboard like this where each sticker was on there. I had an idea. The gal who was living with me at that time, not the lady I'm married to now, but the gal at that time, she was with me when it all started coming back, when I started getting my memory back in 2004. And she got to live it, and she got to experience things that nobody should have had to experience. I mean, it was bad enough me reliving my memories when it all started coming back, but she got to experience it. And apparently she got to see some things that I really didn't get to see. But she did, and she got scared and got terrified, and finally she just bailed on me. And I really didn't blame the kid for doing it. She could have been went about it a little bit way, and I won't tell you that part. But yeah, there was things that happened where she was getting scared and she was getting terrified. And so anyway, all this crazy stuff that happened. So anyway, when she left for a while, and then when I moved up to Indianapolis to be closer to where my son was at that time, and he's older, grown, he's in the military now. But she called me one day, and and after all was said and done, I felt like almost like a father figure who was talking to his daughter that decided to run off with the biker gang or something like that, then came back after it didn't work out. And I'm like, okay, you ready to listen now? And that's kind of the way I felt. But anyway, she told me that she could feel, a sense there was so much negative energy in the apartment that we lived in. I said, well, this is messed up. And so anyway, I said, I want to try something. So this word that I'm not saying, I wrote one letter on each one of them pieces of cardboard, spelled it out, put some clear tape across it. I closed my apartment door. I slapped it across there, and no sooner did I slap it across there that you could feel this negative energy just coming out of there, just like something, some of these movies you'd see, like, say, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, when all the spirits were coming out of the ark and just whoosh, like that. Well, that's what it felt like. And in 20, 30 seconds, the place felt cleansed. Like all that negative stuff was out of there. And I'm like, wow, that was something else. Well, anyway, this particular word that I'm not saying, I got to thinking that this guy sitting here that just looked like a regular everyday person sitting there doing his job, maybe it's genetics that makes him look funny or whatever. Something didn't seem right, and I wanted to test this word. I wanted to test it. The thing I talked about just happened at the apartment. Well, that happened after this incident. And I figured out something, which I'm going to tell you about, that the word, it doesn't just repel, off-worlders. The word basically translates into, I can see through your disguise and I know who and what you really are. By this guy's reaction, I figured out that's what it's all about. They don't want to be out in the open. They want to remain hidden, yet they still want to be amongst us. And anyway, when talking to the lady, the bilingual French lady over here, French Canadian, she spoke English. And I said, I'm going to slide this word into a conversation. and just see what happens. And so I said, yeah, I was coming up. I wanted to come up this way. I wanted to go up through, Vermont. It's so gorgeous up there. I wanted to come up. And I went through this area. I went through this area. And then I went through camp. Like, they got camps and stuff like that, parks and whatnot, national parks. And I went through camp and I slid the word in there. Now, the guy who I suspected of being an off-worlder, he was over here at his desk. And we've all been this. We've all been at home. We've been in an office. We've been working in a security guard shack, whatever. We all know the look. I'm going to use my glasses here for a phone. It's like the guy looked like this. When I looked over at him, when I was talking to her, he wasn't even paying me no attention. This is what he looked like. He was just like, my phone fell. But this is what he looked like. I said the word, but I slid it in kind of being sly in a conversation to the French Canadian speaking lady. And then roughly 5 to 7 seconds tops. 7 seconds tops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seconds tops. This guy went from like this, and he was on the other side of the desk. I was standing here. He was standing about 4, maybe 5 feet away from me. I said this to the lady. A few seconds later, I turned around. In that time frame, from when I said the word till I turned around, no more than 7 seconds, he had hung up the phone, came around. I got to back up a little bit so you can see me. He came around, was standing right next to me, and he was going like this. The guy was about ready to come out of his skin. And I was a little bit away from the camera, so you might not have been able to see my expression very well. But the guy's face was just like... That's what he looked like. Amy, this is what I'm telling you. This is what happened. The guy that was just a regular, everyday guy, office worker, no big deal. I'd seen the guy every time I was up there for the 3 years I'd been going up there. I didn't go up there every week. Sometimes it might have been a few months. A lot of times I went in the winter because a lot of our older guys were fair weather drivers. They didn't want to drive in snow and ice. They turned down. Lower guys on the totem pole like me would get to go. Problem, I enjoyed going to Canada. But this guy had been up there all that time. No problem. And then when I slid this word into a conversation, which it was like an obscure name of a park or a camp or something like that, is what I made it sound like. And the guy about came out of his skin. And I'm like, whoa, I wish I had that on video. And I got talking to her, and then he just kind of laughed it off. 2 weeks later, I went back up there. And I asked the lady, I said, where's old boy at? She goes, oh, him? He transferred to the back side of the other side of the factory. He'd been working in that office for 3 years that I've been going up there. Probably longer than that. He'd been up there for who knows how long. But this individual, never learned his name, he got transferred to the back side of the other side of the factory. So when I asked my buddy that I had contact with that time, that I no longer have contact with, who was an MK Ultra survivor who had been around the world of intelligence for a long time, I told him the story. I said, what do you make of that? And he goes, I can tell you what happened, man. He goes, when you said that, it about made him blow his cover of what he really was. It about made him come unglued, because I only said the word once. And it about made him reveal his identity, because, like I say, the guy was shaking. He about come out of his skin. It's like the look, he was like, he wasn't mad. He was almost like he was scared. He was terrified that, he was going to unfortunately reveal who and what he really was if I kept it up. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to see if this word had any effect on him, and it did. It had some serious effect on him. But anyway, Amy, you wanted me to tell you this story, so I'm telling you the story and everybody else. And when I say someone's wearing a brand new Edgar suit, I say I met one. They don't have to be a vicious, violent, vile individual. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to play you a piece over here on the original Men in Black movie, 1997, with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. And Mr. Jones, he explains it. And I'm going to show that for you now.
More non-humans arrive every year, and they live among us in secret.
Look, I'm sorry, not to change the subject or anything, but when was the last time you had a CAT scan?
About 6 months ago, it's company policy.
Right, you should make another appointment.